Hi everybody, it's Laura. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Today I have a layout that I made using the August Color Kitz collection by Shimmerz Paints. To make a background for this layout, I'm going to use my gel plate and some color splash sprays by Shimmerz. I find that the color splash sprays work really nicely on the gel plate, and I don't know if you've ever used one before, but these are so super fun to use. I love adding multiple layers to one sheet of paper, and that's what I do on this layout. Here I'm using my 12 by 14 inch gel plate, and I started off with a color splash color called Sea Breeze. I then started adding a slightly darker shade of blue called Swoon in the Lagoon. I'm working with a couple of different sheets of paper. I'm using an 80-pound smooth cardstock. I use a brayer, and I'm kind of going for almost like a sunburst pattern with the sprays. I want the background to look tropical. And the thing that got me started on making this layout was that I had created a couple of layouts using my August kit, and then I had so many fussy cut images that I was just dying to use on another layout. So I thought that I would use all those images in conjunction with a gel printed background. I think that one of the best ways to create a gel printed background is to add lots and lots of layers. So that's what I'm doing here. I take my papers and I keep layering them into the color splash sprays. Here I'm combining the two different colors on the gel plate at the same time. And no two gel prints ever come out the same, or in my opinion, even nearly the same. You always get something unique every time you pull the paper from the gel plate. And with the gel plate, you have some control over how it turns out, but a lot of it is also kind of random. So that's why I think it's nice to have a couple of different backgrounds or sheets that you're working on at the same time so that you have a couple of different choices. So when I'm done with this gel printing session, I'm going to have 3 different backgrounds to choose from. So all of the backgrounds turned out a little bit different, and so I had to kind of consider for a while which one I thought would be the best for my layout. This is the background I selected, and you can see off to the right of my layout, I have all of the elements I'm going to be using. And I just love the way these images are a little larger in scale. So at the bottom of the layout, I put a strip of pattern paper. I kind of thought that that paper looked like grass, so I thought that would look nice at the bottom. And then I had fussy cut out this whole piece. It's all these beautiful tropical looking leaves, and I used gel glue to adhere those leaves to the background just because there were so many little delicate pieces. I wanted to make sure that all of them were anchored down to the background. So here's another beautiful fussy cut piece. This one is of a flamingo with some leaves and tropical flowers. So that piece is going to go on the right-hand side of the layout, and then my photo is going to go on the left. And this is a photo of some flamingos in my daughter's hotel when she stayed in the Dominican Republic now a couple of years ago. To the right of my layout, I have a bunch of leaves and flowers, and I'm going to layer those on top of the elements that are already on the layout. I want to create a pretty tropical scene. So there's the strip of pattern paper on the bottom of the page, and the top of it is a straight line where it meets the flamingo and the flowers and the leaves. And although I don't want to get rid of that line, I do want to connect those two areas. So I try to do that by taking some of the flowers and overlapping them between the two areas. I also add a couple of leaves on the right-hand side of the flowers, and I add a little, is that a lizard or a gecko? A cute little creature on the left-hand side of the strip of paper. I added a couple of smaller flowers to the leaves at the top, and then I added one of the dots from the kit. It says, "Be a flamingo in a flock of pigeons." I'm playing around with some of those larger leaves and incorporating them into the large cluster at the bottom. I wanted to create a mat for my photo, so I'm using a color splash spray called Squeeze the Day, and I'm just putting a little bit of the paint along the outside edge of this piece of paper. I cut it to size so that it would be a nice mat for my photo. And I put on several layers of color so that the color will be nice and rich. The Color Splash yellow is a very, very bright yellow, and I thought that this mat might match the layout a little bit more if I made the color a little bit deeper. So I used this Shimmerz called Bumbly Bee, and I added a layer of that on top of the Squeeze the Day, and I think that that was the right shade of yellow to use on the layout. So I attached my photo on top of this very thin mat, and then I put my photo back in place. I had a couple more of these large tropical leaves. So I tucked one on the left-hand side, and then I had another set of leaves, but that one I decided that I wasn't going to incorporate into the layout. I added some ATG adhesive to the back of my photo, and I put that in place. And then I really like the addition of that large leaf on the left-hand side, so I added some adhesive to the back of it and attached it down. And then I thought I needed something on the right-hand corner, so I used a little fussy cut piece and I attached that down. And then I was trying to figure out how I could work this other fussy cut piece into the layout, and I decided that I couldn't use the whole thing. It was a little bit too big, so I cut one of the leaves off and I tucked it right behind that gecko or lizard. I like the idea of having those flowers at the top of the page among all of those leaves. But for a few minutes, I was thinking that maybe I could use this cluster of flowers and put it on top of the photo. I trimmed off a little bit of it that was kind of a half leaf, but then I decided that I was going to go back to my original plan and keep that at the top of the layout. So then I attached down the flowers on the left-hand side and the ones on the right-hand side, but I knew that I needed to add a few more flowers to the top of the layout. Well, I still had the other part of that die-cut leaf cluster that I cut one part off of a few moments ago, and I found a really nice spot for it, kind of cascading down from the cluster of flowers. And then I used some ATG adhesive and I attached a couple of elements down to the page that I hadn't already attached. So as you may know, I love to add photo corners to the pictures on my layouts. I wanted to use this piece of pattern paper. It looks like the inside of a watermelon. So it's pink with some black dots. And I decided that for this particular purpose, I didn't want to have any black dots, so I just positioned the punch so that I would only get the pink part, and then I inked the edges of these photo corners and I attached them down to the photo. I have that cluster of flowers on the back of the flamingo, and I had a few more little scraps of leaves, so I decided to add those leaves to that cluster. And then I thought that I could add this shell on top of the photo to add a little bit of decoration to it. So there were the leaves at the feet of the flamingo that I had fussy cut out, and there were some white spaces, and I definitely wasn't going to be able to cut those out, but I didn't like the way that they looked so white. So I used a little bit of green ink, and I just lightly ran my dauber over the top of them so that the white would look more green. It wouldn't stand out so much, because there was just no way I was going to be able to get my scissors in there to cut out all those little white areas. So I thought it would be nice to add a few more clusters of flowers to the top of the layout. I fussy cut one of the smaller flowers off of the cluster that's on the left-hand side, and then I relocated that flower all the way to the right-hand side, and then I added a couple more flowers at the top. And I don't really go to too many tropical places, but I absolutely love this theme, this really brightly colored summer theme with the flamingo and the beautiful tropical flowers and the large tropical leaves. And I just love making layouts like this. I kind of feel like I should go on a tropical vacation just so that I can use up all of the beautiful papers that I have like this. I'd like to add some kind of a little dot or embellishment to the photo corners. So for this layout, I'm using a light pink enamel dot. I place one of those on each of the 4 photo corners. And then I like the shell at the top of the photo, but I thought that it could use a little bit of a boost, a little bit of dimension. So I added a little bit of fun foam to the back of that. And then I found that I had this little piece of a flower, so I decided that I would put that at the very top of the layout so I could trim it along the edge. And that is the very last touch. This layout is complete, and here are some close-ups. When you place an order with Shimmerz Paints, please use my name in the comments box and you'll receive a free gift. If you take a look in the description box, you'll find a link to the Shimmerz shop. Right now they're having a fantastic grab bag event, and I don't know about you, I love to get grab bags, and there are a whole bunch of different brands and types of items available in them. So I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.